What's up, everybody? It's PLD.
And I'm Richard Eric Jarvie. Welcome to Class Action. Tell us all about it, Paul.
Class Action, our show here on the Action Industries YouTube channel, the home of all things Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. We salute you for giving us a little slice on your YouTube universe. And here on Class Action, we're going to take two franchises, movies, Hollywood personas, viewpoints, two things we can put up against each other, and with the help of our 5 custom-made categories, decide which one is victorious in a steel-cage battle to the death. And we called that the Class Action Brief of the Week.
You made it sound like it's a battle, but then you went back. It's a brief of the week, like it's something lighthearted.
Well, I kind of realized I'm like, it's a battle to the death. I want to make it really big and dramatic, but that doesn't really fit our courtroom.
Yeah, we should call it like Clash Royale, not Clash Royale or something.
Well, that works too, I guess, right? But anyway, it's big giant battle to death in our courtroom. So
That's right. And the two movies that will be battling each other, they are A Quiet Place and Invisible Man.
We have some great horror movies. Invisible Man came out this year, 2020. Great performance by Elizabeth Moss. We'll get into that. And also, of course, Quiet Place, 2018. And that's actually got a sequel coming out. Well, it was coming out. And that topic actually leads us to our next little segment, huh? Like a little segue.
That's segue, though.
Judges' Chambers.
Yep, this is something completely new. We just figured we haven't seen a lot of new movies this week. And, well, there's the there's this shroud over us that is the coronavirus, unfortunately. But we figured we'd be talking about it more in a movie capacity way. How is it affecting the movie industry, and how is it affecting us watching movies and going to the cinema? So, what do you think? There's 2 big movies now that have been delayed. One of them being right here on my chest. This is Daniel Craig. No Time to Die got pushed to November, and now A Quiet Place 2, and probably a lot more will follow.
Yeah, Fast and the Furious actually was delayed a year.
Yep. A year.
A year. Next, not coming out until 2021.
Whoa! That I didn't know that. I knew that they delayed it. I had no idea that it was for an entire year.
A lot. It's not, and there's actually others. I can't think off the top of my head now. Those are the big ones, but there's other ones that have already actually pushed back as well. It's nuts out there. I mean, even not going on a movie basis. We're gonna just stay on movies for the most part, but it feels like we're in a movie. It kind of feels like we're
it does.
First act of some kind of really Stephen King epic, like The Stand or something to that effect. Like we don't know what the hell is going on. But breaking it down to a movie aspect, it's nuts to see what's going down. We have films that are flopping at the box office, or maybe not flopping, but doing a lot less than they should. And now Mulan, it's another one that got pushed back.
Yeah.
It just seems like every movie is not going to take the chance, and they're going to push themselves back for release dates.
Yeah.
Ben Bateman said it best, I think. And he said, they're going to look back on this from 5 years from now. It's going to be a weird look at the box office, and people are going to wonder what the hell happened.
Corona? Yeah, true. Because Bloodshot got released, and I don't see it getting delayed anymore. I'm guessing it will stay in cinema. Well, the cinemas in Estonia are closed completely, so I'm not sure how it's abroad or how it's over there. I'm just pretty sure that Bloodshot is going to tank in a big way, which is a shame. I did see it. It wasn't a great movie, but it had its time slot. And it could have made big bucks during that time. And it wasn't an expensive movie either. It was like 42 million,
right?
Which is not at all a lot for a comic book movie. And the visual effects were pretty amazing. But now there's another thing I wanted to ask you. The movies are, well, some of them are getting delayed a year, but most of them probably will get pushed more into the second half of the year. Hopefully, if we overcome this pandemic, they're calling it, right?
Right.
So in a way, so I'm just keeping a positive mindset. I'm hoping this will blow over, and the second part of the year is going to be packed with movies. Think of this, pretty much 2 or 3 movies a week that you're so excited about. It's going to be interesting how these movies will battle out, at the box office.
Absolutely. I mean, we already we mentioned before this. Another film that opened this week that is really hurting is Onward. From
such a great movie,
Pixar movie, which I haven't got to see yet, but it is a Pixar movie that usually gangbusters at the box office, even if it's the worst Pixar movie makes, but that's even falling down. But you're right; that's a very interesting point. I'm wondering how they're going to deal with that aspect because I'm sure there are also films towards the end of the year already planned. So how are we going to space these out? I mean, it's going to be kind of it's going to hurt the box office probably even more unless studios decide to push their other films back and we will have a better, more solid early 2021. Maybe that's why Fast and the Furious decided to go back a whole year. Like you don't want to compete with everything else that's going to be pushed back. Maybe well, I don't just clear the space, making a new tentpole for 2021. Maybe I don't know, but it's very, very weird. It's just hard to imagine what's going on here. Although I love going to the movies when there's no one there, I'll tell you that much myself.
Yeah.
I love
Same here.
I
probably would go to the cinema if it were open,
Right.
but they just closed everything down in Estonia. All the theater, like just like the what do you call them? Not movie theaters, but theaters.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Gotcha.
Everything. So public gatherings, everything's pretty much done for. So yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks if we're going to get more. As we get, I mean, there's the quarantines that are happening. A lot of the sports worlds have also delayed their seasons to begin. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, but there's not a lot of entertainment out there at all. We're going to have to be more online than ever, I think, to be honest with you.
That's another point I wanted to bring up.
Right.
Home entertainment, streaming services. Like, honestly, I think movies like maybe A Quiet Place or what's the next, like, semi big thing coming out. Not Mulan. Mulan's too big, but a movie that's lesser on like A Quiet Place is a good example. It's a sequel, so it's a little higher budget, but it's not like blockbuster big budget, which could be a pretty good idea to push it on a streaming platform.
It could
because everyone's going to be watching the streaming platforms for a few months now, I'm guessing.
I don't know. Quiet Place is one to do because I think Quiet Place is actually bigger than you think it is. It was a big place. It was a big piece in 2018. Made like $340 million on a $17 to $20 million budget. I don't think they'll sacrifice that. But your other valid point is your point is valid in that there might be some films. Oh my God, my cat is just trying to get involved in the show today. I think there are films that are mid-level budgets that might seek time instead of because delaying it won't do it any good. So let's get it out there on a platform, especially from like Disney. You have Disney goes, you know what? Maybe we can use this to bump up Disney. Not that Disney Plus needs any bumping up, but it still could be a way to draw in the streaming platform more. You can see maybe Apple TV try to bid for them now, or Netflix try to bid for them, and everything. I could see that, and it might look like a good alternative, other than losing money or putting it up against something like later in the year, putting it up against a Top Gun, or putting it up against a Tenet or a Dune.
Oh my God! Don't get me even started on Tenet. I can't wait. I can't wait if this gets postponed. I need to see
it. No, you did see it, definitely, technically. A part of it.
I lived it.
You lived it. Exactly my point.
Throwback to our last episode. If the coronavirus gets me, God forbid, I hope it doesn't. Richard Eric Jarvis didn't get to see Tenet.
He lived it. Brilliant. I love it.
But yeah, I do think the streaming honestly, Disney Plus is getting a release. Disney Plus is releasing in Europe. It was supposed to release in March, April, around that time.
Right.
So now would be a pretty good time for that to hit the market, I think.
I think it's not a bad choice. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what it will do. But that'll end. I think good place to end Judges Chambers. We can go move into the brief of the week, which is, again, we talked about The Invisible Man versus A Quiet Place. But before we get into our categories, let's play my favorite game, one you all know, one you all love. What would Ed Harris play? Oh, there he is. I love that one. I have to come up with some different pictures so I can showcase them. There it is. I like that one too.
The last one was from Westworld, right?
Yeah, it's Westworld. I don't know. It's kind of a weird Westworld digitalization. I don't know. I kind of like it. That's actually Westworld also. That season 3 is coming up from that, so I'm excited about that. And
I have not seen season 2 yet.
Oh, that was a crazy one. It's very crazy.
I watched the entire first season and I loved it. I put on the first episode of season 2. I was like, what am I watching? I don't understand anything.
Oh, that's pretty much.
I got to pick it up again.
That was actually the case of season 2. A lot of people were less enthused with season 2 because it gets a lot more confusing. Season 3 is supposed to be more straightforward, a little more straightforward.
All right.
It looks great. The trailers look awesome. I gotta tell you, I love the
Okay.
trailer. So we'll have to see. That's the one line Ed Harris has in there. You can tell right from the trailer, I'm gonna save the fucking world. I was like, oh, good.
Yeah,
But we're
you
not
are.
exactly. But we're not talking about Westworld now. Maybe someday we'll get into TV at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. But right now we're going to get into what Ed Harris played in these two movies: The Invisible Man or A Quiet Place. Now I know you prepared diligently. I know you always, as you always do. I know you struggled this time, so maybe it might just be me. But I'll start it off. I'll give you a little more extra time. I'll start with The Invisible Man.
Mhm.
Now, usually what we do is we say, what would Ed Harris play? Would he replace somebody that's already cast in the film, like play a role that's already cast? And if we can't decide to do that, we might write a role in for him. It might make the movie a little more interesting. Because let's face it, Ed Harris will always make things better. That's my
Agreed.
mantra. I'm going with
Agreed.
that. So, Invisible Man, what I've decided to do in this role, I could have taken him and replaced her cop friend that she lives with after the incident when she gets away. But I didn't want to whitewash the character anymore.
Hmm.
So I decided instead what I'm going to do is the bad guy, the Invisible Man, Adrian Griffin, I believe his name is.
Mhm.
I'm going to do something kind of cool because Invisible Man is of course, a long time story. It's been told many different times, many different ways. So I am going to link up the original Invisible Man, Dr. Jack Griffin, and Ed Harris is going to play Dr. Jack Griffin, the father of Arthur Griffin. That's in, I think it's Arthur. I could be wrong. Adrian. I'm sorry, Adrian. Jack will be the Adrian's father somehow, and he'll have maybe done the Invisible Man a different way. And Adrian wants to make his daddy proud. That's why he comes up with a tech suit. I'm not sure exactly how it would fit in, but it'd be a nice like thrill at the end when she kills Adrian or something like that. Also, Ed Harris is there as the father is still alive, and she's still in her duress and still under a different Invisible Man at that
The
point.
father comes for revenge.
Right, exactly. Could lead into Invisible Man 2, the return of the original Invisible Man. So, I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun.
There's a small error in your plan, though, because the
Sure.
Invisible Man is invisible. How will you have Ed Harris play him?
Well, there'll be some kind of way with his voice. So, like, I don't know. They'll show flashbacks of how he got it. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. Come on now.
Because like Oliver Jackson Cohen, who played the Invisible Man in the 2020 version, he pretty much had like 2 scenes. It's pretty much. I can only imagine. It's like agent calls him. He's like, "Yes, I got you the lead in a new Blumhouse movie. What is it? What is it? It's the Invisible Man. You got 2 scenes. How much does it pay? $5 million. I'll take it.
I'll take it." Could be right.
No idea if that's how it went, but
sounds good. And I wasn't actually that big of a fan of his performances anyway. To be honest, in those 2 scenes.
Well, he was pretty damn good in The Haunting of Hill House. I think he played the tormented brother of one of the leads.
That sounds good. That sounds right. That sounds about right. I didn't connect that actually, but that makes sense. So, anyway.
But your Ed Harris in Invisible Man is a pretty well thought out recast. I like that. I like that a lot. Who do you have for A Quiet Place?
Okay, Quiet Place. Well, I kind of like base it a little bit off. I mean, it's only 2 male characters in the movie. There's John Krasinski and there's that crazy guy in the woods.
Oh, actually 3 because the boy. Actually, right. 2 boys.
That's true, but I'm not going to make Ed Harris be a little boy. So
de-aging.
That's de-aging.
You can't de-age movement.
We'll call him the curious case of Ed Button. But no, what I actually was going to do though, but I'm not going to replace the easy one. Obviously, to replace John Krasinski, maybe younger Ed Harris play that, but that was way too easy. So what I thought a little bit outside the box. If you've seen A Quiet Place, you know that there's some kind of alien. They basically say it's an alien race that's come, and they're like predators, basically. Those are the bad guys, so to speak. Well, I'm going to change it up just a smidge. Ed Harris is going to play a military man. Surprise! I love Ed Harris in the military roles, and he is going to be the guy who's in charge of making these things. They're not actually aliens; they were creations. They were going to be creations that were already made for war, and somehow they, of course, got out of control and they took over. So Ed Harris is living in the woods with all the secrets of how these things took place, and so eventually John Krasinski has to find him and they'll come stumble upon him, and he'll help them survive somehow. Maybe he'll come in the last act and help Emily Blunt and the kids get to safety. because he knows the secret.
Also, he's controlling the
Right.
aliens.
He was controlling the aliens at first.
Oh, okay.
And he
okay,
lost
okay.
control of them. Now he's like a bad guy-ish that becomes good at the end, knowing like he's got to sacrifice himself to right his wrong, kind of thing.
And then at the very end, well, his character probably has to die, in a redeeming arc.
Absolutely.
And he says like, and he says like, remember me, remember the name Hummel.
Hummel.
Big reveal. That's him.
It's Hummel. Every military guy is General Hummel. I love it. I totally love it. We're have to make Ed Harris have Hummel have brothers too. Like he's like a triplet or quadruple every time he comes in. Hummel. And like General Francis Hummel. There's Frederick Hummel. There's like Jonathan Hummel.
Hummel the third.
Hummel the third, exactly. He's got kids. Him and Barb had kids that you don't know about, and they grew up to look just like Ed Harris. You can always keep the Hummel family going. I love it.
You're definitely winning this week because for starters, I couldn't come up with a great role for the Invisible Man. The only one I came up with was for A Quiet Place. I'd have him as the guy in the woods who yells after his wife has died, but I would expand the character. Like at the beginning of the movie, they're lighting fires on top of the what do you call them? The grain towers, the silos.
Yep.
So you can see that there's a lot of families living out there and they're sort of signaling each other.
Yep.
At the beginning of the movie, I'd have like one of the families visiting the others and getting to know them. You're getting to know the female character who died of Ed Harris.
Right.
So you'd sort of have this emotional connection. So when Krasinski and his son goes fishing and they come back, you can see that he's dead. And this sort of pain that Ed Harris is having at that moment, because when you see the guy in the woods, you're sort of like, okay, she died, and he sort of feels like he's got nothing left to live for, but we don't really know what's behind it. That way, we do know what's behind it. We know how much he's suffering, and that will give maybe this scene a bit more of a meaty impact. Yeah, gravitas. That's right. So,
I like it. I think we can go with that. We can go with that.
But you win.
I actually don't win very much considering how much I prepared more than you, but you still actually win. So.
I prepare every time. I just make you think I didn't prepare.
All right, well, let's get into our brief of the week then. The actual brief of the week with the 5 categories we come up with. There are 5, and I guess I always used to say, I think I know what's going to happen, but it doesn't. But I'm not going to say that this week. I'm just going to go right into it.
Just before we intro the categories, what we usually do with the categories, like we custom make the categories for each movie, and we make the categories highlight what we love most about both these movies. So that's the point of these categories. And
also, I think another thing we should look at is that a lot of times we'll take a look at 2 similar movies or somehow. Like these 2 are recent horror movies that jump and they have sense. They deal with the senses, so to speak. We try to connect the movies in some way, but there's a lot of time it actually. I am going to say it, I guess, in a way. A lot of times there's times where we're like, wow, this movie probably should easily win. So you like to try to come up with ways that we can take a look at categories that let's highlight the best of both and really, really instead of just overall, let's take a look at the best parts of both and maybe surprise us with what the outcome is. It's kind of fun. And if you actually watch our show and just see the ending, you might go, what the fuck is this? And if you actually watch the whole show and see where we're coming from, I can kind of see that. I can see where it's coming from.
That's the point of doing this movie versus movie. So you sort of maybe know which one would win, but maybe the lesser movie you will start looking at in a different light or in a new way. Sort of what AMA did with some of the trashy action movies that I didn't think were so great, but I'm like totally in love with them after Ben and Drew, highlighted so much greatness about them.
So anyways, I wouldn't have given a second notice if it wasn't for Ben and Drew. Like The Edge, for example.
Absolutely not.
See it now, I'm like, I fucking love this movie now. It's perfect. Awesome.
And even Britta's on board. When she's feeling ill, she goes, I'm not feeling 100%, Charles.
I'm going to kill him, motherfucker. Anyway, so let's get into our categories this week.
Categories.
As always, the first category we're going to get into is Bigger Threat. Bigger Threat. Now, I'll let you talk about that when we get to it, because we came up with this. I kind of had a hard kind of feeling about this one, but you came up with a good twist to it so that it makes much more of an interesting versus. Yeah,
I can just quickly intro it. Bigger Threat. In one case, we have an invisible man. In the other, we have the creatures. So we're pretty much putting these 2 threats up against each other.
Okay. Right. I also have the better lead performance, which we took as Elizabeth Moss in Invisible Man, and we put her up against Emily Blunt, who is the lead female character in
Hmm.
A Quiet Place. So it makes sense that both two very strong female characters do wonderful jobs. So they made sense to go at each other. Number three, my favorite. One of my favorite categories to
Hmm.
come up with, best
It is.
potential franchise. I always like looking
Yeah.
at the future. At the end of the movie, can we make a sequel out of it? Because if it's a good film, you know they're going to. So which one has the better potential to draw me in and be a good story for a sequel?
Yeah, you sound like a studio exec. We can make a franchise out of this.
I can make a franchise out of anything. Make more money, more money, more money. You know what I'm saying? But
No, I'm saying
what else we got?
that was you, not me. I didn't say.
That bad for you saying more money? Then we got number four, better scares. Which one had?
Mhm.
They're both horror movies, so which one had the better? Not necessarily even jump scares. Which one had?
Yeah.
Which one scared you more?
That's right.
Five, finally, better fist pump. The one we ripped off directly from our boys at Action Movie Anatomy. Those moments where you're watching and you go, "Oh, I can't wait! I can't believe
Mhm.
Are you watching this movie?" I'm actually ripping off the Ben Bateman directly now. Are you watching? I can't even get to watch the rest of this movie.
I don't care that you're at your grandmother's funeral. Get to a screen right now. Put your earphones on and watch this scene.
I don't care what's going on. You're like,
I'm sick with the coronavirus. I don't care. The screen doesn't infect you anymore.
Exactly. Well, then let's jump back. You know what? I'm gonna let you take bigger threat first. Explain your thing and go from there.
Okay, so first category, bigger threat. So as I said, an invisible man versus the creatures, aliens that are pretty much, well, they're blind and they can hear incredibly well. So in this case, if I look at Invisible Man, it's a much more introverted sort of threat. So at first glance, sure, it seems like an alien invasion trumps an invisible man tormenting a woman, but approach this from like an individual's point of view. So Moss is struggling with psychological issues and has been a victim of like utter abuse and under the man's control. And her threat is a person who is fixated on tormenting her in every possible way possible and unravel her world in unexpected ways. So he doesn't go in and kill her. He does everything in his power to take her apart piece by piece. So there's sort of this unexpectedness of what the Invisible Man can do. But if you look at A Quiet Place, it's an external threat in a sense that we have these aliens. They can hear incredibly well. You know what to do to survive. Aliens, they kill on sound. It's an unbelievably difficult situation and a threat, but the world is sort of black and white for them. They know which rules they have to follow. So in that sense, this unexpectability is that a word?
Yeah, you know that.
Unexpectability. I'm coining it now. The unexpectedness is what makes me decide for the Invisible Man, because with these aliens, there's no personality. There's no sort of agenda behind it. They just are there for the kill and probably for the food. We don't know exactly, but they want to wipe out the human race, it seems like.
It's actually part of the draw to the movie, remember, Quiet Place, is that you don't have it explained yet, which might be, I don't know if Quiet Place 2 is going to get into that, but just you concentrate more on the slice of the life instead of like the idea of what's going on.
But they're a black and white villain in that sense. They sort of come in, they kill you. You never see them sort of have a different agenda or something. They just come in, kill you, they fuck off.
Absolutely.
But Invisible Man is, if that happened to me, like I'd rather have an alien invasion probably than have an Invisible Man tormenting me.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're going with Invisible Man then?
I'm going Invisible Man with this one, even though it seems like the obvious choice for A Quiet Place, but.
It's right. I'm glad to hear you actually describe it like you did, because we were talking about this category. I had a hard time with this. My initial thing is, it's one guy is an invisible with the tech suit. Spoilers for the tech suit, and there's one, or else it's these massive aliens. You can't talk, you can't do anything. It's just like that's easy. Looking at it from that perspective,
exactly, put it into perspective.
I do struggle with that a little more. I kind of feel what you're going with, although honestly, I still end up deciding towards A Quiet Place in my mind, because to me that's psychologically disturbing enough. And as much as the psychological aspect of Invisible Man and what Elizabeth Moss goes through, she is a problem away from solving it. She can solve that threat, no matter what, even psychologically, even though she's tormented and she's scarred for life. She can get through with therapy. The immediate threat can be eliminated. Quiet Place, there's a lot more threat going on. So even if they save the day and get out of the situation they're in, it's still an ongoing threat. So I think I will still slide towards A Quiet Place myself.
But A Quiet Place, they come up with a solution at the end, sort of this, hearing aids getting amplified, and they have a deterrent in a way. Probably not a cure, but not like a complete what do you mean? Like a solution for the problem. But it seems like they've got some sort of a handle on it.
To a degree, but I don't know like how many of them are out there, and is that one creature? Maybe there's different kinds of creatures out there. We don't know. So you see the fear of the unknown, and you also, if they do survive, they have to rebuild that whole world. Obviously, the world is pretty broken down at this point from what it looked like anyway. So I still say the threat is more strong in A Quiet Place.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they can rebuild, and even if they do wipe out the alien creatures, there's still that threat of just surviving in a new world where they have to basically rebuild everything comparatively.
I get that, but think of how, the Invisible Man's point is making you feel like you're alone. You're alone in this. No one else believes you, but your world is being shattered. In A Quiet Place, in that world, everyone is united against a common threat. Sort of, I don't know, probably we're different in a way that, to me, what scares me more is facing things alone rather than facing them together. Maybe you feel, maybe you're this lone wolf that isn't scared of.
I don't know about that. But I would say, my counterpoint again would be the fact is, like at the end of the movie, she did convince people. She got it through. She did find a way.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, and I always feel like that's the problem with Invisible Man. Like, I love the movie. I love the property. I love the franchise. But it's a hard time getting through the past that they can't figure out a way to get everybody else to believe you. It's just like ways like you just got to do this, or you just got to do this. You got to figure out a way to make it work, and you can. But I mean, they do. I mean, Different does do a good job of making that work believably for the film. But I always felt it's a tougher road for me to travel. And it's kind of funny to say, because I am saying it's tougher to believe in that when I'm believing about these alien races that open up like a Venus flytrap and swallow you like the alien. But that's what I guess you gotta. It's accepting the rules of the film in a way. That's what I'm trying to say. You accept the aliens are there. They're an overt crisis, overt threat. You accept the rules that, okay, maybe you're struggling to get people to believe you, and I get that. But at the end of the day, I get your point. I'm a lot closer than I was.
Our approach is different. That's fine. That's totally fine. That's how we interpret the categories.
Exactly. And therefore, I'm going to go with A Quiet Place. So.
All right. So that's 1-1.
Go on. Better lead performance. I'll start with this one.
Yeah.
I had to say I thought this was a lot closer than it was, but when I thought hard about it, I had to give it right to Kate Moss. Or Elizabeth.
Okay. Moss. Yeah, Elizabeth Moss.
Kate Moss.
Yeah, Kate Moss
was supermodel.
Is the model.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like wrong. Okay,
it's an easy mistake.
I think that it's an easy thing because here Elizabeth carries that movie. Moss carries that movie entirely on her shoulders. Where I mean, I didn't like Adrian. I didn't like the guy who played Invisible Man. The cop character was good, solid. But Emily Blunt shared that with John Krasinski pretty easily. So it was an easy 50-50 role. She didn't have to carry the movie as much. Now, I'm not saying Emily Blunt was bad, because she was phenomenal. The sequences where she had to give birth, the sequences where she stepped on the nail, the sequences where she got badass. I mean, it was a very nuanced performance. But the psychological aspect was even there as well. But man, Elizabeth Moss had that deep-seated terror of domestic abuse, deep-seated terror of the psychological damage being done all the way throughout. Like when he made her sister kill herself, or killed her sister by making it look like that she did it. I felt so awful. There's something on the look on her face. It was a more, I think, a more in-depth performance for me than Emily Blunt was in a way. She was basically given more due. I mean, it's kind of unfair in a way to say that. But at the end of the day, if you got to pick one, I got to go with the one who had more of a challenge, which was basically carrying the movie on her shoulders.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
I get that. And you were talking about like Elizabeth Moss has this look of someone like her roles because if you see her on the red carpet, she's like gorgeous. She's like everything. She looks like well balanced, but her roles are like in Handmaid's Tale and now in Invisible Man. And I think in Mad Men as well, she's kind of a repressed character, so by this man's world. So she has this. I don't. She has this ability as an actress to showcase that torment and this sort of suffering in a very cool way, but well, in a cool way, in an amazing way as an actor. But Emily Blunt, you mentioned the birth giving scene, and I think it's like this whole continuous scene where her water breaks, she goes downstairs, she steps on the nail. That's when it starts to go down. You're like, you know, the nail came loose. You know she's gonna step on it. You don't know exactly when. But I legitimately teared up several times during that scene, and when she gives birth in the tub, she puts her hand down, trying to like almost like keep the baby in. Sort of, she knows she can't make any sound. The alien's coming upstairs, and then the fireworks goes off, and she lets out this scream, this pain, everything. She knows she can just let this loose right now when there's like noise everywhere.
Right.
I almost said Kate Moss as well. Elizabeth Moss is she's amazing throughout the movie, which probably makes it her category. But I don't know, these standout moments of Emily Blunt's, they're almost like fist bump moments, but they're not. They highlight the movie and these like surges that she does. I don't know.
So it sounds like what you're trying to say. It sounds like to me what you're trying to say is that Elizabeth Moss is more consistently good.
Yeah.
But Emily Blunt has the higher highs.
And she does more highs and lows. That's right. She has more of a nuanced role. Like it starts off, she's this very calm parent, but there's also this impending doom that she knows that not doom, but she knows she's pregnant. She knows she has to give birth at some point. They both know that this hardship is about to come.
Right.
But they still try to enjoy life and make this a good thing. And everything shows this about her. Yeah, so I'm picking A Quiet Place, and I'm going with Blunt on this one.
Fair enough. All right. Wow. Okay. Well, then we'll move forward to better potential franchise. You want to start, or do you want me to start? You want me now?
I'll start.
Okay.
Even though it's your category.
That's fine.
I don't know. Talking about this, it sort of seems unfair that A Quiet Place has a sequel coming up, but Invisible Man just released like their first movie. But if we look at the IPs, then Invisible Man actually has some more potential and a bigger universe to play in, because we almost had what was it called? The Monster Universe?
Yeah.
We were supposed to have Invisible Man, The Mummy, Frankenstein,
right.
Was it? I think Dr. Jekyll. Everyone was supposed to play in this big sandbox, which got scrapped. But still, the characters and how they even finished up the movie, it's probably going to get a sequel or a crossover with another. What do you call it, monster? Then
they could absolutely still low-key do the Monster Universe. They still could. I mean,
with Blumhouse, I think it's even more
more likely
possible. But A Quiet Place did something unthinkable in that sense, because honestly, I was when the first news came out first, they were so successful and they're thinking of a sequel. Pretty much everyone was like, okay, sequel, how, why? Seems like a cash grab. But I feel like Krasinski has such a firm grip on what he wants to do, and his vision is so strong. Still, I feel Invisible Man has, like, Krasinski, he beat the odds.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure, because I think it was Jimmy Kimmel said he says that the second one might even be better than the first.
That's awesome. I hope so.
God damn, but it feels like Invisible Man still like has the upper hand and a more potential to take this to a larger franchise.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, if you're going to bring in, I didn't even think about bringing in the whole Monster Universe, which definitely technically makes that more a better franchise that way. What I loved about A Quiet Place is that my best way to talk about A Quiet Place, I kind of mentioned it before, is that you don't know hardly anything about the world. It's very much like, it's almost like if you had a camera on this world, A Quiet Place was like the really zoomed in part. You just saw that little slice of that life, that world. So it had a lot of potential to kind of like, okay, let's bring this camera back. We're going to see, like you see the trailers, we're going to see how it began now. We're going to see them moving forward at the same time. Now, is that the frame device used so they can get John Krasinski back in the movie? Yeah, probably.
Mhm.
At least partially. But the fact that it's got a sequel already, the fact that the aliens at the end, I mean, hell, the very end of the movie, it ends with her, like, them discovering the weakness. They don't actually do much with the weakness. They just get that one alien out of the way, and they kind of send it out to the aliens that are surrounding the house or whatever. But now it's like, now we got to bring this weakness out to the world. Let's see what we can do, kind of thing. But you are swaying me a little bit. Now you went first, talking about the Universal monsters. I kind of like that idea. I kind of like being more to it, especially if it'd be an interesting tactic if. Almost an interesting tactic if like maybe Elizabeth Moss. I don't know if it'd be good or not. I can't decide. If she like, actually goes, she went a little bit crazy herself. She has the suit now.
And she could become. I think that's the plan, to make her the Invisible Woman.
Yeah, it could very
So
well be.
I would go that way, definitely.
Right. It's kind of a scary aspect to it, possibly. I think people might question a bit because you want to make her the bad guy now, but I think it works in a way that it could work very well. But I did pick when I did this category initially. I did pick A Quiet Place. You swayed me a lot.
But no, A Quiet Place does have an uphill battle, I feel like, because it wasn't meant to be a franchise, or it wasn't supposed to spawn a sequel. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be a one-off. I'm pretty sure. I
almost
think
feel like
so.
John Krasinski came up with it so quickly. He had a storyline written like so quickly. I remember right after. I almost feel like John Krasinski went. It's kind of like a George Lucas thing in Star Wars. Not to compare A Quiet Place to Star Wars in any way, shape, or form. The idea is you start with like this in the middle of the universe, in the middle of the story, just to get people hooked. And then you go, now I can go both ways. I can show how that story began, how the alien race came to be, and I can move forward and see how we're going to defeat the rest of the aliens now that we have the first battle is won. It's like the farmhouse is the Death Star blowing up, basically. So now what? So I mean, I like that aspect of it. So I'll stick with A Quiet Place for now, since that was my initial pick. But good argument there with the Universal monsters. I'm gonna see both. I hope they both do have. I mean, I know one of them does. I hope the Invisible Woman come up with a good sequel. Invisible Man becoming Invisible Woman, maybe.
A Quiet Place can, if it wraps the story of the Abbotts, I think the Abbott family, they can pick another family. They can insert a new cast into it. They can play in that world. So
perfect.
I think it's a decent choice.
Okay. All right. Let's go next category. Better scares.
Yes, sir. You take this one. That's your playground.
That's good stuff. I loved a lot of the scares, and both films had scares, and both films had great usage of sound or lack thereof to give you those scares. And it's not even just what was the best scare moments. Sometimes, like for Invisible Man, for example, the one that I loved about Invisible Man was the non-scares, if that makes sense.
Yep, perfectly.
There was times the director would linger the camera somewhere.
Something like, so simple, just showing a hallway.
And you're expecting to see something move. You're like, oh, here it comes.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So
it's like a big nothing. Okay.
Because when these types of things happen, I usually black out one of my ears. I keep watching because I don't take jump scares well, but I do like horror. So I block one ear and I watch. And I was like, the entire movie, I had this like finger in my ear, expecting for this scare to come, and it didn't.
And every once in a while, they would do something, maybe something subtle. What do you mean, a jump, like something to move off or something, and everything else. But then when the scares did come, they came fast and furious when you weren't expecting it. Like the scene with her sister, at the table. All of a sudden, they're at the dinner table together. She's finally starting to believe or whatever. All of a sudden,
holy crap! I totally forgot about that one.
Right? What the fuck? Like, holy shit! What just happened?
Yeah, because you had no clue. You were public place. Everyone's around. This is a safe environment. Nothing bad can happen. Right.
Absolutely nothing bad can happen. It's something in depth. Okay. Yeah, so the Invisible Man that way. There is one more scare, Invisible Man, which is not a jump scare. It goes back to what we had said before with Elizabeth Moss, just the terror, the overall terror that she feels at the mind games being played by the Invisible Man himself, of course. The idea of the psychological torture, different kind of scare that we usually see in these kind of movies, but it definitely gives a big bonus point to it for me. Now, going on the other hand, we'll go with The Quiet Place. Scares galore. I mean, the use of silence is so amazing in this film. The use of silence is
the silence is deafening.
It is. It's a cheap plug, very cheap way to say that away, but it is exactly true. It's a brilliant use. You get drawn in, you're like, and then something big will happen. Fuck, like the whole idea when the first sequence when like the kid, their separate son.
Exactly, my point as well.
The plane beeps goes off, and you see everybody go, and he runs, and all you see Emily Blunt is like,
yeah.
Oh,
they both know he's done for pretty much at that moment, but he's still going for it.
He's got it, his son.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of those little things, like the bit of like we talked about earlier, stepping on the nail. Oh, so terrifying, so scary that way. When the man screams, when the old man screams, you're like, holy shit. When you see the alien coming out of the house, you see when she wakes up and the alien's coming down the stairs or in the basement with her. Oh my God, there's so many different scares in the film. I would say I'm going to give this one A Quiet Place because it just had more overt scares, more overt times, and the overall depth of horror was just the tone of the film, the mood of the film was just all the whole time was just kind of like, when's it going to happen next? What's going to happen next? When are they going to come? So I like Quiet Place on this one a little better myself.
Yeah, the usage of quietness or silence. I totally agreed with you. I pretty much have the same beats written down. And The Invisible Man uses exactly these long shots of empty spaces. So simple, just like drawn out scenes to build attention, and they don't use pretty much. Oh, there's a few jump scares, but this perpetual eerie feeling and uneasiness. I felt very uncomfortable with those moments, and it's pretty similar to A Quiet Place in a way, because the movie starts off with almost like you pretty much described the scene, but it starts off with almost complete silence. Everything just as it clicks and bumps, but nothing, no one talks. And when that rocket ship goes on, the toy goes on, this is the first time you feel like a big sound. And it's not even it's not a jump scare, because you can see and hear the creature coming from a mile away.
Right.
So it doesn't even use jump scares. It's just when you have silence for so long, the usage of sound is that much more effective.
Yep, I agree.
And but both movies like build on their like respective gimmick, like Invisible Man having these empty spaces and Quiet Place using the silence. But what I love about The Invisible Man is like midway through the movie, the pacing and the tempo and even almost like the genre of the movie flips.
Right.
What was like a slow build horror movie turns into a fast-paced. It's almost an action thriller at that point, and it carries on till the final scene, where at the dinner, which is a very elegant scene. I love that. But it does take some of the scare potential out of it when you have these big action sequences, because that's usually when we're not scared anymore. You just want to see like these cool fights, and
let me interject something actually.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm going to interject one thing, because I didn't know where to bring this up. But this actually seems a good place to do it. I love Invisible Man. I don't get around. There's nothing on the film. I gave it 4.5 stars. One of the problems I did have with it was these action sequences, because starting with the asylum, the psychiatric center where she's at, all of a sudden she gets him to reveal himself, and he starts attacking her. But all of a sudden these guards come around, and he starts attacking the guards. And knocking them out. At that point, it's like, well, you just wreck the horror aspect of it right there, because all of a sudden the whole horror aspect is based on that only she knows that this is real, that no one believes her. The psychological horror is
that's exactly it.
And then all of a sudden, if he had killed the guards and let her like have the knife or the gun or whatever.
He almost did, but there was a
Almost
few
died.
survivors because
Right.
when it starts getting down, he kills like one after the other, and you're
Right.
like, you sort of that
That's
was my
okay.
initial point as well.
That's
I thought,
okay.
okay, he's killing them. There's still no one left. They think she killed them,
But he
but
leaves
eventually
some
there are a few.
alive, and it takes away the horror aspect of it to me, which is another reason why I got to give it overall the best scare stuff. So
That makes no. That was very good, and I completely agree. But I sort of enjoyed that it switched the pace. I like the fact that we got this. It almost turned into Upgrade because he like very effectively took out the guards and the orderlies, and but in a way,
what I want to know is how does this guy know how to fight so well? He's a scientist, isn't he? Like there's no like military and stuff. But he's kicking everybody's ass, even when he's not. He is partially visible. It's like,
but he was this. He probably worked out a lot and kept himself like he seemed like this very obsessive person who wanted to do everything. Well, we don't really know who was who actually. The brother could have been used only at the final.
That's true. That's true.
But what I want to say about about A Quiet Place, it does the same thing because the final act is a big action scene, so you're not that scared anymore. You're like so amazed what's going on. You want to see how it ends up, like conclude the story, how the story concludes. But I usually enjoy scares that are not built too much on sound because I can't stand jump scares, as I said before. But the reason why I'm picking A Quiet Place is the fact that they don't like sort of they. Okay, I lost my train of thought here. I'm looking at my notes and I'm completely.
Well, you picked A Quiet Place.
I picked A Quiet Place.
Well, all right. Why don't we skirt right into fist pump moment? That's our next category. Who had the better fist pump moment? You want to go with that one?
I think I will.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we will have the same ones. Well, I'll start off with A Quiet Place, which has one of the most powerful scenes in recent movies, I feel like. And it's, I'm pretty sure I know which one I'm talking about. It's where it's at the final act, the kids are stuck in the car. The creature is clawing at it, trying to get in. And Krasinski knows that he has to save his children because he promised to his wife that he'll do whatever it takes to protect them. They had this conversation before. Like, if we can't protect them, what are we even doing, right?
Right.
And throughout the movie also, I think what builds into that moment a lot is throughout the movie, like we know that Reagan, the death girl, she's feeling a lot of guilt towards the death of his brother, and Krasinski is not as involved as a parent with her as he should be, and they even have a talk with his son about it. And the look that Krasinski gives to his daughter at that moment signs, "I love you. I've always loved you."
Right.
And just screams, lets out the most shattering scream. It has so much behind it. All the angst, everything that's built up, but the love, everything is in that one. It just comes out in this one burst of a moment. That's definitely the biggest fist pump in A Quiet Place. And weirdly, in Invisible Man, the fist pump, my favorite fist pump is, I'm actually kind of sad they use it. It's in the trailer as well. And it's the part where Elizabeth Moss like goes into the attic. She hears some noises. She like looks up. I think there's a photograph of something, and she knows what's up. And she looks down the ladder, and she throws paint. And that's the first time. It's like this white, this figure. You can see that it's like weirdly patterned. You're not sure what's going on. This sort of feels like very supernatural. Like you're not sure, but it's also like techie. That was a very powerful moment. Even though I saw it in the trailer, it was still my favorite like single fist bump moment in the movie, because the biggest fist bump is probably the whole action sequences that happens in the hospital. But that moment, it's almost a jump scare, but it's not because you saw it in the trailer.
Yeah.
But for me, those are the two biggest moments. But this is hands down A Quiet Place for me. It's much more emotional. Everything sort of culminates in that moment.
All right. I will. Okay, I'll take this now. Fist bump. You're right. That the biggest fist bump in Quiet Place is probably that moment with Krasinski. I will mention two other quick ones that I liked. I did like when the daughter, when Reagan is down in the basement and she discovers the weakness. Like she kind of looks at the poster, just this like slow realization. She does this whole. She's like, then she turns it up and you see the aliens start like freaking out or whatever. You're like,
Sort of these
yes,
things
Reagan.
coming out.
Yes, Reagan. And then she goes like fire. She turns it on, turns all that. Ah, and of course it goes into the second part of it. Also, like Emily Blunt realizes what's going on too. She's like, "Oh yeah, it's hunting season, or whatever." And the film ends. Still a great fist pump moment for me. I love that. As far as Invisible Man goes, fist pump moments was
The ending,
where the ending is definitely part of it. I would mention also the quick one that when she cuts her wrist, like she acts like she's going to kill herself, and just to draw him out right before the big action sequence begins in the shower.
I don't remember that part.
Right, she's like this. She's like, "I'm not gonna. I'm pregnant."
Oh, okay. She tricks him like that. Yeah.
Now she's like, also she flips from being sad to like, now you're mine. Kind of moment. That was kind of cool. And then again, the ending sequence of the whole dinner when you're kind of like, you're not sure what she's got going on. You realize she's looking. You think she's just looking for the confession, and then like she leaves the scene, and then she kills him, and you realize like not only did she kill him in that way, but like she has it like all done where it's off camera, like the security camera. It's like she was that far ahead. You're like, oh, that's fucking badass. And at the end of there, like she convinces like, and she even gets her cop friend to like say, like, I didn't see anything or whatever it was. Like pretty cool fist bump moments. But I agree with you 100%. For me, the fist bumps are Quiet Place by far.
The problem with the Invisible Man's ending is I saw it coming. I knew that she had stashed one of the suits in the bathroom or somewhere when she first goes into the house.
Right.
I remembered and I knew that it was going to come up. So in that way, the movie was a bit predictable for me. That's what kind of toned down the conclusion. But it was still a cool moment.
Absolutely.
Kind of saw it coming, but yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, that wraps us up. We're going to finally figure out which one wins. In our battle of death, I think you might have seen it coming. I did see it coming a little bit, but but at the end of the day, it is what it is. The winner of our battle to the death, A Quiet Place. 7-3. It wins the categories. No hung jury where we have to come up with some kind of weird 6 extra category to break a tie. Quiet Place victory. How do you feel about that?
I think it's well deserved. I was almost nervous for a while when we went back and forth with different categories because I did want A Quiet Place to win because honestly, Quiet Place it's a 5 out of 5 movie for me. Invisible Man is a 3.5 movie for me.
Oh, really? That low? Okay.
But if you emphasize these categories and these moments, it's a lot more closer than you wanted it to be, and that's the point of our show, pretty much.
Pretty much. Sometimes actually, we have actually surprised ourselves before and gone a different way, and been like, "Ooh, can't believe that actually won that way." But this one does go the way we think it's going to go. But again, it is very close. All the categories were not one category was like clear cut. They both had their moments. So that's it. So, well, we're going to wrap up our show on that. Thank you all for coming in by and watching this. You had some great live chats recently. When we try to be in there because we pre-record. Don't know what we're doing next week. We have to talk about that. We have some good, cool ideas that we're going to
probably older movies because I won't be seeing any new movies for quite a while now because the cinemas are closed.
That's true. That's very true. So get those ideas, and we're going to do some other characters too. We've done a lot of movies versus movies recently. I've just so we might break in some other ideas, and we might be having some guests on. So we'll have to see how that goes as well. But Richard Eric Jarvie, Reggie, where can they find you? Where can they find you?
At Richard Eric Jarvie on Instagram and on Facebook. And I'm also doing an Estonian movie show, which none of you will understand, which is called The Film Guru. But if you do, look it up.
It's fun to try.
Right? And you can
find you in Tenet also.
Find me in Tenet. If it doesn't get postponed, please don't get postponed. But anyway, yes, stay safe, people. And of course, we are on the Action Industries channel, so go follow Action Industries on Facebook and Instagram. Stuff going on there.
Absolutely. Well, for me, I am Paul _Denuzio on Twitter. You can also find me running the Action Industries YouTube in YouTube. Action Industries Patreon at www.patreon.com/Team Action. We just recently had a big upswing. So we have some great tiers, great rewards, and it's been really cool. They've been seeing a lot of growth. It's great to see. Also, you can find me on Call to Action, the movie trivia showdown after show. I do Chill to Action every Monday night, generally with a member of the Schmodown community. And also, you can also find me on my own YouTube channel, which I just started recently, called PLD Projects. Right, I'm going to be developing a lot of trying to be short form content. It was like supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes. They seem to be getting longer every time because I can't shut up. So it's up being about 25 minutes. I did one yesterday. It'd be like 27. I'm like, where is this going? So let's see what I can do.
What are you doing?
Exactly. I got a Star Wars show on that, PLD 1138, and I got a show about the science fiction classic V on PLD called PLD Views. So PLD and 1C, got me to 100 subscribers on that. So that being said, I guess that's really all we have to say this week. Huh? So as always, court is adjourned.